Hey, this is Mike Shank, and this is the At Speed podcast presented by Rocky Fork Company.
And we're back once again for yet another episode of At Speed with Mike Shank and featuring yours truly, Tim May. And Mike, you haven't done any racing since we spoke to you last, but you've still been busy in this shop, right?
Got a lot going on behind us here today. We're actually loaded up, headed to a one-day test for the IndyCar on Monday, this coming Monday, at Sebring, which will be 27 drivers there at this test. It's like a mini Grand Prix at a little test track in Florida. And then we got a week back, and then we go down to the first race, the IndyCar race in St. Petersburg here.
Real quick, before I want to move on to a lot of other things, like a Ryan Newman crash, all these kind of things, that people are interested in, and kind of your take on some of those things. But real quick, what's as you've crunched the data, so to speak, from COTA, the tested COTA, which was really a one-day deal when you get right down to it. Jack got some driving in the rain. His second experience driving in the rain.
It was.
But the bottom line is, what just came across to you most about what y'all learned from that first test in an IndyCar?
Well, there's a lot of things to take. So we've what I call upgraded our group, our team internally first. Okay, so we have a lot more people working solely on the IndyCar project now. Okay,
now what does that mean? How many people? What are you talking about?
So we have 14 total people now, all in the work on this project, from everybody from crew chiefs to truck drivers to mechanics.
Yeah.
Gearbox guys, all kinds of stuff. So
dedicated
to the IndyCar effort. 2 cars, 1 driver. It's a full-blown, big-time deal for us. Biggest thing I noticed is that we've taken a true step forward in our preparation, I believe, and you can see it. And I can see it when I'm standing on the stand. Our pit stop practice was phenomenal already. Our speed is really quick in the box, it looks like already. On top of that, then the second part of that, technically we switched to Andretti this year for technical partnership. And where does that go? And that looks like really good right now to me. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 parts of it that are coming together to form what I think should be hopefully a top 8 or so championship kind of contender car.
2 questions to come out of that real quickly. Number one, what is the sweet spot? What is the sweet spot from a pit stop timing situation as far as you're concerned?
Well, I mean, in the real, practicing is one thing, and what happens in the actual race is a little slower typically, but we were doing 5.8, 5.6 tires, all 4 tires in 5.6, 5.9-ish all the time.
Yeah.
Fuel takes about 6.8, so now we have a new thing this year that a lot of people have read about already. We're allowed a 7th man over the wall to do the tear-offs.
Right.
And that's all they're allowed to do. So we're working that into the thing, too, and figuring out that ballet, what's the best way to grab them and stay out of the way of the other guys and that type of thing. So there's a lot going on there. But if you think about it, we're doing a really good stop is in the 6s in the race in the real world. So if you could do a full fill, 4 tires, hit those tear-offs in 6.8, 6.5, you'll be doing really well.
Yeah, and fulfilled. By the way, explain to people like an IndyCar refueling situation.
Yeah.
Do you get the same flow at the end of a race or on your last stop as you do on your first stop?
No, it's gravity.
Or is it pure gravity fed? Right?
There's gravity fed.
No pressurization there.
That's correct.
The only pressure's on the guy sticking the nozzle in.
It's intent. But it's what God and Mother Nature intended. So as the fuel load goes down, the fuel slows down, and that's standard.
Kind of like watching a dam run out of water.
Yeah, it is exactly.
Number 2, you talk about the crossover with Andretti. I mean, I know you're watching that keenly because are you getting the same info as Alexander Rossi or anyone else, their side of the team? What just buoys you about what you saw there compared to what you were getting like a year ago with the team you were with?
Well, it's just that we're getting more of it. There's 6 cars in our group now. 7 it was announced last week, a little bit for 3 races. So
interesting.
There's a ton of information, and that information getting to us is awesome. How that system works is really well thought out, and it works. So that means that Jack can know where he's strong, where he's weak. The guys on the car, the engineers know where we're strong or weak compared to our competitors. Our teammates. Most likely one of our teammates is in the top 5 or 8. There was a moment of time at the test where all 6 cars were in the top 8, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
Right? Like even to have that for 10 minutes is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So that was a really cool moment for Michael Andretti and Rob Edwards and the guys over there that run that program. And it's something they can really hang their hat on. I'm pleasantly, I wouldn't say surprised is a good word, but very happy with how that integration is going. And obviously, what we're all working toward really is the Indy 500. And we're hoping and praying that, and we're working on that right now. If you look behind me right now, there are different pieces we're prepping just for the 500 now.
Yeah.
We're working on that car over there. They can't see out of camera, but it's right there is our 500 car that is getting rubbed 20% more. Just anything we can do to make sure that we're competitive at the 500.
Just keep it off the wall, Jack, right?
That's right.
Real quick, I want to 7. There are going to be 7 of you guys sitting around the table.
Yeah.
At Indy.
Yeah.
When does it become too many, in your opinion?
7.
Yeah.
It's too many. That's a lot, and I do have concerns about it. But I don't have any complaints because of the way they've treated us. It's been great.
Yeah.
Now, when we sit around that table, when the engineers sit around that table, they do it really efficiently. That I noticed at COTA, and I was just with 6, but it's not a 3-hour-long debriefing meeting. It is a very, each driver and main engineer combo have a chance to speak. They speak in less than 5 minutes, and you move to the next one. And on top of that integration, there's also the Honda element. So when you have the chassis side and you have the engine side, both equally as important. Honda comes in and does their thing first. They clear out. Then the chassis guys get in there and work on the car some. But it's consistent. It's the same thing every time. And we kind of know what to expect, so we can schedule everything around that.
Is there any cross feed allowed, like with Honda, between the Honda teams? I mean, the different teams. I mean, what they found out at like Rahal Letterman or something.
Sure.
I mean, how does that work?
There is some data share, but they don't let you see who it is. You just see other people, what's capable or not capable of.
Yeah, so it's anonymous.
Yeah, it's anonymous.
Yeah, but it's significant but anonymous.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And possible.
Possible. What does that mean?
Mean the car can do this actually.
Oh,
if someone else does it.
If somebody tells you no, they're wrong.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Okay, you watched like I did. I mean, matter of fact, you and I texted back and forth a couple times.
Yeah.
During the latter portions of the Daytona 2000.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Long time.
And you're sitting there, you're fired up because one of the guys you picked is like a dark horse was Michael McDowell.
Yeah.
And he's right there in the mix.
Right there.
And all you got to do is wait for that washing machine on spin cycle to throw somebody out.
Yep.
It looks like Ryan Newman, if he can just make one more block, he's going to win it.
Yeah.
And then we all saw what happened. Ryan Blaney ran up into the back of him, and
well, let's be clear. Let's be clear. He ran up in the back of him because Ryan put the biggest block in the human earth, right?
Didn't blame Ryan Blaney. I'm just saying that's what happened.
And I don't think you hear Ryan complaining about it a lot either.
Yeah.
Ryan Newman is absolutely known as the hardest man to pass in NASCAR. Period. Ever. Forever. And he has no neck, so no one wants to mess with him, right? Like, he's a strong dude.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about him driving with his elbows out.
Oh, elbows out, yeah. So, having said that, he did exactly what I would have done when I'm coming down to win the Daytona 500, right? Who's not going to throw that move?
No, I think you might have pooped your pants at that point.
I'd throw that move.
I'm just joking. But, yeah, you're right.
It just didn't.
Right.
It just didn't. And then, of course, the one kid came along and T-boned him in the cage.
Corey LaJoie, yeah.
Yeah, and it almost caused a major problem.
But what you as a team owner and a guy who's, a player in big time racing, how much did that scare you from the standpoint of, 7 years ago, Ryan Newman, good chance he wouldn't be here. I mean,
yeah.
And then he walks out of the hospital like 2 days later. Unbelievable. But he got hit right on the driver's window, not just the driver's side, the driver's window upside down, came back down and landed on that same side and stuff. But how much did that scare you? And I mean, scare's maybe not the right word, but concern you as like an owner, team owner in this, in the sport of auto racing, of people might have just witnessed something ridiculous right in front of them.
Scared comes from when they bring those big partitions out. That's when you get a little scared something bad's. That was a little dramatic, it seems now, looking back on it. But concerned always about safety and what they're doing so these things can be prevented next time. As a point of fact, and I can't remember, it's been 8 years ago, they added a bar that they call the Newman bar just because Ryan suggested it from a mishap years ago, right?
Yes.
And that looks like it probably saved his life or got close to it anyways. He still has an undisclosed head injury that they're not really talking about.
Right.
And that's fine. That's their private world. So, but the point is he's functioning. I've heard him speak. He doesn't sound like he's got any long-term problems. But anytime you see something like that, listen, we just spent 6 figures to put this new canopy system on.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah.
On the IndyCar, and this canopy system would have saved my friend Justin Wilson, almost undoubtedly, right?
Yeah.
So evolution of the race car is coming along here, and even the more I look at the windscreen now, it's becoming normal, right? Like at first it's shocking for looks, right? But now it's starting to become normal and kind of cool in some ways.
Yeah.
And of course, my sponsors love it, right? Because it's high profile visibility stuff. So I'm happy to see that what NASCAR's done to make those cars safe works. Period. Otherwise, we would be having a funeral and not a party for it that he's alive. So more power to them and the folks that made that happen.
2 things concern me about that crash, though. Well, one thing's particular. You could see fuel dripping out of that car. And I thought it was lucky that it didn't become a conflagration. Why it didn't, I'm still not sure.
Just didn't hit anything hot.
Right. But there was a flame right now, right down. And does that bother you to see fuel coming out of a car in this day and age after a crash?
Well, I'm curious about it a little bit because there's rollover valves and all kinds of stuff to try to keep stuff from like that happening. So something either got clipped, chipped, cut. I mean, it's hard to say. We don't want to see any fluids running out. Any of that's flammable oil.
Right.
All can catch on fire. There's some of it we're never going to be able to do anything about. But, it ended up like it was supposed to. And if nothing else, I'm sure NASCAR's dissected that car a million different ways and looked at. They have a high-speed image camera that shows up on high-impact loads. I don't know if you've seen that on the interior of these cars now.
No, I've not.
And it kicks on and it shows what happened there, and none of us get to see that.
Yeah.
But NASCAR get to see that in video and have a history of that for future. We have a new car coming in NASCAR in 22 or 21, I think it is actually, and they can account for some of that. Maybe we can add this bar or that bar to.
Yeah. It's interesting now though because in auto racing, it has evolved from. Oh my goodness, man! When Ayrton Senna, those guys drove, where they're almost sitting in a chair, almost like this on the nose of a rocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Indy cars back in the early '80s,
Sure.
the Marches and the Lolas, where your feet stuck out 3 feet in front of the
axle line.
In front of the axle line. I mean, it's amazing. Finally got to AJ Foyt. They finally moved them back, but now it's evolved where, like I always said, it's almost redundant or almost like non-use that you have on a fire retardant suit. I brought up the possibility of fire there a minute ago, but fires are so rare anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But it's evolved to where, like your Halo, it's all about protecting the driver's head now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Newman, the Newman bar protected his head. And from a crushability standpoint, it added a little bit more oomph, to the chassis at exactly the right spot. But, you used to drive a race car a long time ago. How vulnerable did you feel sitting in an open cockpit car then, or did you even
you didn't even think about it?
Yeah. Why did you not think about it?
I just think it was the way we were raised. What we watched happen in front of us. Now, as it evolved, it made sense. Well, why are my ankles hanging out front of that line?
Yeah.
My mom owned a vintage Formula 5000 car that we restored, and I drove a couple times.
Wait a minute, your mom did?
My mom did, yeah. And
there's a whole podcast right there.
That's a Lola T300 with a small block Chevy. It was 1,200 pounds with 600 horsepower.
Wow.
And it was lethal, and it was literally like tin foil around me.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I had fun driving that thing, but it's extreme level of dangerous compared to where we're at today. If you think about everything from steering columns to where your feet are placed to the crushable structures that they never the crushable structure were your ankles.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a crushable structure.
And if that gave way, it was your knees.
It absolutely. And guys like Scott Pruitt, Tommy Kendall. I mean, there's many people.
AJ Foyt,
that been maimed.
Yeah,
and it goes on. The list goes on.
Yeah,
right?
And of course, Scott Pruitt's thing happened in a testing situation, West Palm Beach. I mean, it's crazy, because I've always said this about auto. I covered 3 sports, mainly auto racing, football, and boxing. 2 of them where they wear a helmet, and the other one where they should. And it's just anytime you put on the helmet, you're in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I don't want to get macabre here. What was the toughest incident you ever had as a driver?
It's funny. I had an incident in the national championship race in Atlanta one time in a little car called the Sports 2000, and I was doing really well in the race, and I pushed wide on a turn. It spun me on my own fault, and it spun me in front of the whole field, and I got clobbered 5 different times by the guys that were like 15th and 20th. They came over Rise, and I was there, and they just banged me and banged me and banged me, and when I kind of came to, I was kind of half knocked loopy, and it came to just coming out swinging. I was just totally confused and lost and banged my legs up and stuff.
Yeah.
But walked away from it. Essentially walked away from it, and but I never had any big hitters like that maimed me forever. My legs got pounded around a little bit a few times. Been upside down a couple times, but nothing that ever.
Yeah. That was like
bad.
Bobby Rahal. I mean, he and Mario Andretti had that crash at Indy in '92.
Yeah.
On the cold weather.
Yeah.
Probably the toughest crash he ever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but to think about him and AJ Foyt surviving the 60s, 70s, and 80s is unbelievable.
It's pretty remarkable. And that '92 race to me signals kind of the end of the era of real. They started really coming around safety-wise after that. If you remember that race, his other son, Jeff, got seriously hurt.
Yes.
With his legs. And you see photos of the Helmelgarn, I forgot the guy's driver now, whose legs were wrapped around the tub after he hit the wall.
Oh, that was Danny Ungaius? No.
Well,
this was after. Oh, no.
This is a purple car.
Yeah. I know you're talking about the. Yeah.
He was in a Helmelgarn car. Anyways,
yes.
he went on to live.
I'll think of it in a minute. Probably in an hour.
He went on to live, and but that kind of stuff, knock wood, doesn't happen so much because of all the stuff that we're going through on these cars today.
And one quick thing, how many times do y'all take a car apart and put it back together? I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
There's 17 races, so we take it apart every time on the Indy car.
Yeah.
So, and plus testing. So now sometimes it won't come all the way down, right? But all the corners always come. Now this goes from the IndyCar to the sports car side. Every time they come back, the gearboxes come out. All 4 corners come off. Everything gets crack checked. All the mileage gets booked. And we have a lifing program, a spreadsheet, in simple terms, a spreadsheet that keeps track of every part on the car. If we look back at James Hinchcliffe's crash at Indy, where he got the thing run through his backside.
Yes.
He had a part failure there that probably a part could have arguably been replaced. I don't know the exact detail. We have lifing programs now to try to make sure we don't get out past what their predicted life is.
There was like a fatigue factor for the parts and stuff. And that's one of those things that's developed over time, right? I mean, over time, that's developed of people replacing things before.
Yeah. So the manufacturer, in this case, Dallara, will come out with a control, an upper A arm is good for 5,000 miles, let's call it, right?
Yeah.
And then as the teams run them, they'll figure out, that's a little low. We can get 8,000 out. So the experience brings the level up, and we make the costs make a little bit more sense without jeopardizing the program, the driver, or the team, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we continually kind of work on we call lifing programs for the car.
We talked about this on the previous podcast, and you brought it up a minute ago, but as you looked at it, how did I don't know if you can put any, maybe the Andretti team could give you more of an insight on it. How much did the canopy, the new canopy, protective canopy, affect the performance of the car looking back on now 2 weeks later after COTA? What did they find?
It moved the center of pressure of the car. It changed the aerodynamics of the car a bit, right? But the weight up top, I don't know that I've seen a big slowdown from it. I'm sure there is a few tenths or something in there just from the mass that it has to carry now.
Yeah.
I know it is. It's got to be a little bit slower. There is some aero gain in it too, but I don't actually have a number I could tell you.
How curious? Yeah, go ahead.
But what I was going to say, at Indy this year, they've come out and said that
Right.
they're going to have more horsepower for us in quality day. I mean, so that means now they're giving us more horsepower to overcome the canopy, right? The weight of the canopy.
Right.
Because
That's what I just wanted to ask you about. Yeah.
They want the speeds to stay up where it's exciting on quality day, right? But I think it's going to get real fast, and I think we could be up around 234, 235 this year. At 242, 243 going into turn 3 on the right lap with the right car. They're going to be really, really quick. Now, of course, they dial them back for the race, but the engine manufacturers have been told to be ready for more power.
If I'm a driver at Indy, I spend what? Have they given y'all a hard and fast schedule yet on the testing or on the practice days leading up to qualifying?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you get now? Is it going to be 5 days? It'll be 5, right?
I think it's
4.
Yeah. 5. No, I think it's 5.
Yeah. But my point is, you spend 4.5 of those days not in without the qualifying boost.
That's right.
It's all about running your race car. You've learned this lesson.
Yep.
As a driver, how unsettling is it to you all of a sudden have an extra, what will it be, 40, 35, 40 horsepower, maybe more than that?
I've never heard a driver say that it's unsettling.
I'm talking about, though, but suddenly you've got that.
No one ever talks about it.
You haven't practiced with that.
No.
So the faster you take these cars, which are upside-down airplanes or jet fighters, aerodynamics goes up almost exponentially in some respects. How I don't know, as a driver, though, how unsettling is it to know exactly what you've got on qualifying day?
I don't.
We'll talk about that more when we get to Indy, but
I got to tell you, I've not heard anyone say this is difficult. I wish I had this 2 days ago when we were practicing.
Yeah,
I've never heard a driver say that.
Yeah,
they know they're going faster. There's no question. Of course, we have to change the gearing when they put that power in the car. We have to change the gearing to take and that's always the trick at Indy 2, by the way.
Yeah,
is getting the gearing correct. We change gears every morning. And then we'll go back and change them during it's a 6-speed gearbox. So 4, 5, and 6 can all be what we call top gears, right? Depending on what we're doing. So there's a little bit of a science to that. But other than that, the real question is how much downforce do we take out of it? How much is the driver comfortable taking downforce?
That's what I'm talking about, though. Yeah. It's like you're basically telling the drivers to go out there on qualifying days and put on a show.
Oh, yeah.
You understand it's like a downhill skier. And suddenly he's got a new wax job.
Yeah, it's slicked up now.
Okay. Do you as an owner, do you feel like that's putting drivers in jeopardy to put on a show for a spectacle for people?
No, because I understand.
I know it's the greatest spectacle in racing.
I know what that spectacle is.
Yeah.
I know it's expected of the fans over there. To keep 300,000 people coming back year after year, there are certain things that – now, listen, we know that Indy 500 is more than just the race, right? It's an event, right? But still – the greatest thing in the world is the traditions and the opportunities to advance technology, I think. And they give it to us. They want to give it to us.
Yeah, but I call where I disagree with you, and I don't know if I disagree. I call qualifying now almost like an exhibition to get people to,
to show up.
Yeah, because you don't have that in the race. You don't have that kind of power in the race, et cetera.
No.
And I saw Fernando Alonso pay the price for it, by not making the race with a rookie team.
That's right.
Whatever. Now he's coming back with affiliation. And by the way, what do you think about that? I think that adds to it. I've enjoyed.
You think he adds to it?
I think when he was there a couple of years ago, his first time, and he led the race and stuff, I thought that enhanced the
program,
whole atmosphere because it got more eyeballs on it, and it's all about putting butts in seats and eyeballs.
It is.
What do you think about him coming back now?
2017 was a great deal for him, right? We were in that race. That was our first year with Jack, actually, and he did a hell of a job, especially for a rookie. And I thought it was awesome, right, to see what he was able to do. Obviously, a world-class athlete. Now, the obsession with that's what I call it. The obsession with Fernando from 17 till now kind of just irritates me, right? Like there's so many other good drivers out there, and he gets the spotlight continually. It defies logic, in my opinion. I have zero against him. I think he's a tremendous talent, one of the best it's ever been, arguably, but certainly there. But the obsession with him, wherever he goes, whether it's Paris-Dakar rally, or if it's Le Mans, or if it's at the Rolex 24 like he was last year, and he won, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just this obsession with and I think he's marketed himself in this right position. He commands a really big salary.
Now let me give you the view from the other side. I found him to be, from the first time I walked over there and he was actually doing his first test that day, back before the Speedway opened that month, extremely accessible, extremely quotable.
Yep.
He thinks through answers, gives you good answers.
Yep.
It's like he understands that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So from the media standpoint, you naturally go to people that seem to like having you around.
I get it.
Just like I'm always hanging out with you because you always have been accessible to me. You give me good answers and things like that. But you're right. I think the fact he won two straight Formula One championships way back when, how long does that carry you?
Well,
but I'll say this: 2017, I thought he showed a lot of savvy.
Oh, we're not talking about talent here.
Yeah,
bro.
The guy's a driver, man.
The guy can drive and deserves to do whatever the hell he wants to do. It's just there's. I just feel like there's an obsession for what he's doing.
Okay,
right?
let me give you an example of this too, though. Remember, he gets bumped last year. I follow him to the elevator that goes up to the media room.
Yeah.
Which is where, and there were a couple of other of us with him, and he was talking to his handler, and he goes, why are they following me? There is still qualifying going on out there. Why aren't they watching that? That's more important. I mean,
yeah.
So he gets it too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's going to be around for years to come, doing different. I don't know him at all, so I don't know, but he'll have a long future, if just doing whatever he wants to do to hit all these milestones he wants to hit. I would think,
All right. Other than your own team, which could be a dark horse Cinderella team to win the championship this year,
100-1 they put us at.
As you crunch the data,
they put us at 100. Vegas put us 101.
Yesterday. Buster was only 42-1 when he fought Tyson.
Yeah, I felt a lot of disrespect on that deal.
Yeah, I got to go over there and cover that fight. It was one of the great things of my career. But I digress. I mean, 100-1.
That feels bad.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure I wouldn't relook at it because I look at your track record.
Either that or go put some money on it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't tell anybody till after I've been to the window, right?
My Lord.
Yeah, it's like the best restaurant in town till you tell everybody and then there's a line, right?
That's it.
But coming out of COTA, as you crunch the numbers and look back on who other than yourself, who looks good to you from a standpoint of you think could be a real player?
Well, I mean, that's the thing about IndyCar. There's 15 guys that can be there's 15.
I mean,
people.
Other than the obvious.
Well, but I mean, Rossi immediately because he's always hitting home runs. He's always swinging for the fence. Colton was really quick again. The Penske cars were really. I mean, it's kind of the same cast of characters. Some of the young guys that are in the Schmidt-Peterson caught on pretty quick right away.
Yeah, I can't ever remember their names, but I'm with
Askew,
you.
Askew,
and Oliver Askew,
and Pato Award, and I mean, that's the thing. I mean, anyone can do it at any given time, given the right strategy, the right yellows falling. Literally,
yeah.
You can be running 16th all day and take a gamble, and that gamble pay off and put you in the top 3 and finish there because no one can pass you if you manage your push to pass correctly and that type of thing.
I would call this y'all's true rookie year in the series.
Yep.
Because it's going to be a full year.
I agree. Yep.
Is it more important to you in this first season to just make a statement? I mean, meaning, you can, by any stretch, you can get a win. You get a win. Of course, that goes with anything, but you understand what I'm saying. Results as opposed to a championship. How do those two weigh out for you in a rookie year?
Results edge the championship a little bit. You can talk later about how you finished 7th in the championship, but what people really remember are the stunning victories or top 3s or consecutive top 5s or something like that truly ring the bell. What we want to show, for our sponsors is value, how we keep value and give value to them. The number one primary way is to finish well. Give them something to talk about, give them something to write about, give them something to talk about in their sales meetings, follow these races. And it's important to me that we try to get something stunning.
Yeah.
Boom, like this, right?
Yeah.
If we do that, and if we execute like we know we're capable of, we'll get the championship position that we want. But there's some tracks we haven't been to that we're focusing on a lot, like Detroit, Texas, St. Louis, Iowa. We haven't been there to these places with Jack. Toronto.
Yeah.
Jack knows Toronto from Indy Lights. But so we're going to test where we can. We're going to do driver in the loop simulator with Jack. So he has opportunity to run Detroit, which he's already done that, and try to prepare ourselves to shock at some point.
Does that simulator come at all to simulating the bumps?
Yeah.
At Detroit?
It does.
I don't know how they run.
It just shakes the shit out of you.
I've told Ray Hall, and these other guys, I don't know how you run 2 races in a row there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to leave there with some kind of like
brain damage,
some kind of like semi-concussion. I mean, it's crazy. But of those tracks, what intrigues you the most? Where's the one where you think y'all could be the new ones you haven't seen that you think Jack will take to like that?
I have a feeling he raced a good example. He raced Iowa in Indy Lights and really liked it, and that's a 12 or 14 second lap, I think, in an IndyCar around that place.
Centrifuge.
And I think there's some opportunity at some of these places where Jack will really come on quick. But Jack makes really good decisions and really smart. He's really motivated right now. He understands his opportunity. I, as a team, understand our opportunity. Neither one of us want to let each other down, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do everything in my power to give him the tools. I certainly, from a budget standpoint, I have given him everything and and then some to have all the tools that those guys need for that car, whether it's a wheel gun for the pit lane or some kind of cool widget for the suspension system. Whatever it takes, we've not let the car starve for anything.
Last thing in those lines, then I want to ask you about your your GTD team. Do you worry about too many young guns in a series of people wanting to make a statement like you're talking about, getting podium results, etc. But you guys are like y'all are like a team that's come up from AAA a few times.
Yeah.
You got to play in the majors. Now you're in the big show.
Yeah. That's exactly.
So you know what it. You know the temperament it takes. Do you worry about some of the young guns?
Let me put it back to you this way. At Portland last year, we were running P2, and we got speared by Ryan Hunter-Ray, who's a 20-year veteran.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I don't know.
So some of the old guns.
Well, and he was motivated for various reasons going on in his world, right? That he needed to beat his teammate at the time, and it happened to take us out. So it can happen. These guys are pushing so hard to keep their job, get a job, prove that they deserve to be there, get a raise. It's a big testosterone shit fight, right? And people are going to pay the price, and I'm sure we will at some time where we get a wing taken off or someone will clip us, and most of the time it's not intentional. It's just everyone trying to get ahead.
I'll tell you something. If people out there watching and people listening, I mean, you want to treat. And I wanted to ask you about this. I mean, watch a video of Hans Stuck. You remember Hans Stuck?
I remember the rally driver.
But he does a lap.
He did a lot of riding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He drove all kinds of. I mean, he had a great line one time at Mid Ohio. Remember, he was in the Coca-Cola car in that GT, that Porsche 962. And a couple years later, he came back, and I think he was in something that had a sponsorship from Pepsi, and they put a Coca-Cola in front of him. He goes, "Hey, get this out of my sight. That is motor oil." He gave me a Pepsi. I reminded him. I said, "Wait a minute, you talked up Coca-Cola." He goes, "That was a couple of years ago." You are who you were.
That is.
I don't even know where I was going with that, but he's just got this great video that I just watched the other day of a lap of Nürburgring.
I've seen that.
It's incredible. And he's talking through it, just passing guys and just taking the car on the edge and stuff. Mike, if you could make, I think one way to either make fans or get them respect for what you do would be putting them in a car like that and letting them understand how on the edge these guys really are. And you just spoke of it at Portland, Everybody's looking for that. Would you like to have some kind of way to put people in that kind of situation where they would have more an appreciation for what it is these guys do?
We have two-seater programs, so people get a feel.
And how many is that? That's 20 people a weekend, 30 people a weekend.
Yeah. And they get a feel. We did one. We did an interesting one. IndyCar have their two-seater program, which is cool. And they sit front to back like a fighter deal.
Yeah.
We did one in a sports car, in a Daytona prototype, and it was side by side, right?
Yeah.
Instead of like this, and that was a whole different feeling. And we let them push probably harder than IndyCar let these guys push, and we had some great reactions at times. And it does give you finally a sense of, and mostly it's all braking G-forces. The braking of what surprised people the most.
Exactly.
That's the first thing you notice, right? This hit this way and how deep they'll go into a corner. I wish everyone could feel that load.
I told you, Bobby Rail took me around Mid Ohio in a Chevy Concealer, which was it was almost like built to like
kit car,
kit car, but it was almost built to like give somebody a ride, but it was still a pretty decent ground effects car. And I remember I wrote a story about it for the Dispatch and for a paper in Toronto, just how hard he was working and just the violence of that at speed, which is close as I've ever been in a car going purely at speed around. And I said, I got out of it. You're going through the rise there on the backside after the long straightaway.
Sure.
And then you go up and down the hill, and your stomach comes up in your throat. And you go through turn one almost flat, and I'm just going, I got out of that. I said, now I know why you guys drive these things. Because
you got that feeling.
Kings Island or Cedar Point would love to have that ride, and they work hard to try to duplicate that. But I just think there would be more people who would be fans who like the rough and tumble of football, et cetera, get to see it right in front of their eyes and have played it a little bit, to have that experience. Because a lot of times these in-car shots, these guys look like they're just,
no one's
driving
ever
a bus.
I tell you, with the rise of iRacing, which is the simulator stuff that more and more people are doing, you get some sense of it, but you don't get the G loads.
Yeah.
The G loads are what really change it. So on the good news, the iRacing's great, and everyone's getting into sim racing, right? And have leagues and the whole thing. But until you feel that punch in your gut or your chest from the belts holding you in, you really don't know.
Yeah, and like you said, what's always impressed me as much about Formula One cars, not how fast they go, it's how fast they slow down.
That's
and
exactly.
Same way with IndyCar. IndyCars are
same thing,
top of the line, et cetera. And by the way, don't ever go into Micro Center up here in Columbus behind me, because they've got a simulator in there, and every time it's open, I get in and drive for 30 minutes. Yeah, crash a lot, man. Well, hey, ladies and gentlemen, that's another episode of At Speed with Mike Shank, with me, Tim May, trying to like steer you in certain directions and staying off the wall. And man, really looking forward to our next episode when we talk about a little bit more of your IndyCar test, your latest IndyCar test, and your GTD team, and what you guys are looking at. Right, the next stop for your GTD team.
Is
Sebring 12 hours. By the way, it's easy for me to say.
Yeah.
Acura NSX is where? Sebring, right?
Sebring 12 hours. So that's coming up in a few weeks, and we'll talk a lot about that later next time. We'll try to get some drivers on here at different points.
Yes.
So everyone can get their take on different things. And, of course, in May, I hope we'll all go over to Indianapolis at the Speedway and spend some time doing this at the Speedway.
Absolutely. Hey, Mike, that's a wrap on another At Speed podcast with Mike Shank, featuring yours truly, Tim May, brought to you by Rocky Fork Company. You can get more details about Rocky Fork at rockyfork.com. Until next time, this is Tim May with Mike Shank. We'll see you later. Keep the pedal to the metal.